All right, welcome back to the garage. So I have my color printouts of the 3 available Betterbot project factions that aren't part of the Clockwork expansion. This is in the future because, as you are about to see, I did not have this when I had the time to actually record. And for those of you with little kids at home, you know that sometimes when the availability to record is there, you just need to strike while the iron's hot. So I did it with the grayscale version of Logical Lizards, but we have the color version, came out looking great. And like any good Midwesterner, I have my Surly Brewing Company party starter to make it a little bit less flimsy. We also have Rivet Folk, same thing. And we have Cyber Corvids. I guess I just need to get more something to fill it up. Might be bigger, might not, who knows? And then the cards. So you can be as fancy as you want with these. I just picked up a set of some playtesting sort of stuff, prototype things I had before. Magic cards I wasn't using in the back, and then throw the colored copies in there. You just need to remember which one is which, because obviously, you know, they're all the same on the back. So we have the traits, and for Rivet Folk and the Corvids, we have 2 other things, which we'll get more into in their respective videos. The trading cards, and not that type of trading cards, the cards that dictate how the other factions will kind of interact with buying goods and services from the Rivet Folk. And then for the Cyber Corvids, these are the cards that the other robotic factions, how they will interact with the plot tokens. So we'll get to those when we get to the actual videos. One small tip, this is all the PDFs as available through the Betterbot project page on Board Game Geek. So there's a little bit of size difference, like a tiny bit. I'm not one of the greatest like print and play people, so I don't care if there's that little bit of difference. And I did need to trim this down extra just so it could fit on the card that I had. So they were this size before, which is the normal size for the faction. So these will be a little bit smaller, but the tokens and everything do fit on here, which is obviously important. But one thing, if there's only ever one card on a page, make sure when you print it or when you send it somewhere else to be printed, you resize that page. Otherwise, you get this just like comically large card here. I mean, you can clearly read this from there, so that's a benefit. Yeah, it's enormous. So it's this gigantic sized card. It's almost as big as the faction boards. So like I said, if there's ever only one card, make sure that you resize it. Otherwise, you're going to be left with this. Last thing last, originally I was going to do a video in between the original 4 factions, the published Clockworks and then the Betterbot project factions, kind of picking up the rules that I missed, either totally got wrong and have, you know, copped to in the comments or in the video description, or just the root rules that I'm in danger of forgetting from time to time. I was sort of inspired by Quackalope's video about the top 10 rules that are easy to overlook in Root. I was like, you know what? I have some of those too. So if people are watching this channel, maybe this would be helpful, but especially so for the things that I have personally missed, my misunderstanding of a rule, or I overlooked something, so a playthrough is kind of goofy. So that is still in the works, but I decided I might as well wait until I do these 3 factions first, because I'm sure something is going to be, at least 1 or 2 things are going to come up as like edge cases or things that I missed that I want to be in that video. So instead of doing one now for the first 4 and then having to go back later, I will make one that's just including all 7 of the factions that are available for robotic opponent playing right now. As you know, we do not have the underground duchy. We don't have the moles just yet, but Betterbot project page says it is under construction. So we'll do that whenever that one comes out. So with that, these look great. Again, printed out exactly as the files were, and the only goofy spot was this just like mega card, which isn't obviously that big a deal. It's actually kind of funny. So with that, I'm going to throw it back in time to pass Kyle for the teach. Thanks for being here. All right, thank you, future Kyle. Yes, unfortunately, we don't get to play with the beautiful colored lizard cult stuff. We have to settle for grayscale right now. Not the end of the world, but kind of a bummer. I do really like the color, all the design of the lizard cult, but we do get to use the same beautiful color smiley lizards, which might be my favorite meeple in the game. So we got that going for us. So the logical lizards, which you might have previously known as the Clockwork cult, they do not have an overview in the Law of ROOTbotics because they're not published yet. So the little explainer of, how they play isn't there. Hopefully Leader keeps releasing the most up-to-date Betterbot project files at a certain rate to kind of expand the market for different clockworks. Until then, it is available for free. Like I said previously, but in the future, I am picking up a colored printed out version of this, as well as all the trait cards and all that. So, you can make do for the time being, but it would be nice to have actual boards of them at some point. So there is no overview. However, the status on Betterbot project page, the Betterbot project page, is new version that should play much better. However, it is not balanced yet or extensively play tested. So in the next video, we will be adding one more playtest, I guess, to the number that there are, whatever that number may be. So the setup on the Betterbot project page just says follow setup instructions for lizard cult player faction, but place the outcast token on the sanctify space on the conspiracy track. So with that, you're going to, I set up for the marquee and the electric Eerie. I am putting myself back in the narrative, to quote Hamilton, and I am an actual player faction this time, playing the cats versus the Eerie. Spoiler for a longer conversation, this may be the last time I'm playing the normal version of the Eerie because they seem quite good with this errata that stops them from just like tripping over their own feet. Yeah, they seem very good. So this is my last time doing the normal mode, which is 2 viziers. Bumping it down to easy would mean they only start with 1 loyal vizier at the beginning. So we'll see. But so I've set those up, which means lizards come next. Odds, evens it is. Because we already have cats and birds, usually you would go in the opposite corner of them, but if you have both, you choose, or you randomly choose which other corner they start in. So you're going to put 4 warriors and a matching garden token in that corner. Then you're going to put a lizard in each of the adjacent clearings, which I don't like because he's already kind of encroaching on my zone. So boo to that. Then you're going to put the outcast token, which you will never use the hated outcast side for the bot, just the regular outcast side. You're going to put it on the sanctify space. We'll talk more about that, obviously, when we go through it. Got to put your victory point token over here on the track, and then test out your cult magic to fill your gardens. All right, still got it, works. So next up, you're going to choose your difficulty level, which is here. There are not difficulty cards in the Betterbot project factions that have not been published. They have this difficulty level right here on the actual board, which may have been a feature of the other now published factions. I just wasn't maybe around when that was the thing. But beginner, expert, and master are the 3 levels, and they each have a number next to them, which will play into the rule set in some way. We'll get to that a little bit later. And then boss mode, if you're playing co-op, multiple people versus the robots, each round score 1 victory point for every 2 players rounded up. That is kind of an extra thing just to balance if you're kind of going up against them, which, again, reminder, co-op root is a great way to introduce someone to the game without them feeling that feel bad because they're trying to pick up the mechanisms and the intricacies of their faction in a competitive mode. You get to, holler curse words at a robot together and learn the game, and then you can say, all right, now let's face each other. Boom. Rules: poor manual dexterity. Just like all the robots, they do not have a hand of cards. If they were to draw one, they get a victory point instead. If you were to take a card from them, you just draw from the pile instead. Simple as that. Hate surprises. Like almost all of the factions, you cannot play ambush cards against them. The only time when robot factions don't have this are when, like in the Automated Alliance, they don't attack. So you would have no way to do that. So they just save space. They don't have to print it. Pilgrims. You rule any clearings where you have gardens. I mean, obviously they would rule this one also, but if they dropped a garden down, but eventually lost this, no matter how many cats came in here, they would still rule this clearing. So that's the same as the human faction, but maybe not everybody has played against the lizards, so that's a thing to be aware of. Robot revenge. When one or more of your robots are removed during another player's turn, place one of them into the Acolytes box. This is a reworded version of the human faction. A couple things to note: that it is not during the lizard's turn. They do not get to go in as the attacker and then also get the benefit of turning their guys into acolytes. There are other ways of making acolytes on their turn, but not that way. But if somehow you were able to storm in here and do 3+1 in additional damage, the cat's turn this is, these would all go back here and only one would make it in the acolytes box. So pro tip, if you can go for combos where you're killing more than one lizard at once, that's going to be your best bet, because if you keep doing 1, 1, 1, you're just going to fill this up and you're going to find out that's not exactly something you want to be doing if you're interested in winning. Last but not least, Lost Souls. The rule is over here. It's not up here. There's already enough. Lost Souls, all spent or discarded cards from all players are placed in this pile face down. This is an adjusted rule from the human faction, and face down is important, as is the order that they go in. So every time someone discards a card, which the Eerie won't, but I will, and they also will on their turn, as we'll see in the rules, but they will go face down in here and stay in that order. All right, so Birdsong, you're going to reveal an order card. Same old, same old. We're going to keep this on hand, and it dictates actions during daylight. If it is craftable, and by craftable, I mean an actual item, not one of the stone tablet ones. If it is craftable, you will do that, and it would just be 1 victory point, as is always the case for the robots. So keep this on hand for the rest of the turn. Then you're going to perform conspiracies in ordered clearings. For each warrior you remove, you would move the outcast marker from left to right, and if you fall off the right-hand side, you come back on the left, and you're going to perform the conspiracy it lands on. So if you had starting the game here, if by the time it's their first turn they have 2 already, the first one would move it over here, they would convert, the second one would crusade. In a second, we'll talk about what those are, but that's why the more you stack up this Acolytes box, it's just going to keep doing these things. And as you might guess, Sanctify, which is a little even scarier when it's in color, but Sanctify is the most devastating of them. So they start there, so it will be the longest until they get back to it. but the more acolytes you give the logical lizards, the more damage they're going to be doing. Over here, right next to conspiracy track are the conspiracies. Convert is the first one. You're going to remove an enemy warrior in an ordered clearing and place a lizard warrior there. So to break ties, you would go to the clearing with the most enemy buildings, then by priority, and then the player tie, you would be the player with the most victory points at that time. And if there's still a tie, there would be a setup order. So let's figure this out. So if we had a couple lizards here, I'm going to remove one, it's going to come over to convert. So we're going to look around for the, because it's bird, it is clearing agnostic. We're just looking at, on the whole map, the place with the most enemy buildings. Now obviously that's here, but you can't place anything in the, and quick aside, like back to what future Kyle talked about at the beginning, this will definitely be one that might make it into there. Otherwise, I will put a note in the show notes down below. If I'm right, I'll just put it all caps. I was right, keep going. If I'm wrong, I'll let you know. Okay, so I did actually look it up because, you know, the internet exists. I might as well do it now as opposed to having to go back later. And according to what I saw, I am correct. And sort of my rationale was actually what I'm seeing online as well, that you're not able to complete the conspiracy. So therefore, this is not a valid target. So even though I can remove an enemy token or warrior, I can't replace it. And that's the whole spirit of the conversion, which is the same for sanctify. So that's why I looked it up, because I'm going to have to figure it out in the not too distant future anyways. So this is not a valid place for actions. So I was right. Again, if I find out that my correction is incorrect, I'll let you know. So let's kind of math it out. So this is not a valid clearing, even though there are two buildings. So that means there are two spaces that have one enemy building. The tie would go to the highest priority. So here we are in clearing 4. Now, in this setting, or this scenario, I have placed a cat warrior here just for the sake of figuring things out. The first tiebreaker for which player you would go against is the one with the most victory points, but everyone has 0 because it's the beginning of the game. So then it's going to go in setup order. So in this scenario, that warrior that you remove from the acolytes box would in fact replace the cat, even though the birds are clearly the more dominant faction in this this space, because you're not really focused on number of warriors or who rules the clearing. You go victory points and then setup order, and obviously Marquis de Cat is king of setup order. We, in our made-up scenario, had 2 of these, so when you remove that second acolyte, you're going to go over to Crusade. Crusade is going to be battle in each ordered clearing in which you have 2 or more warriors. This is the only, well, I guess, sticking with it, we did have that guy over there. However, we do not have 2 or more warriors in any clearing aside from this one. So this would be the only one. Because it's bird card, we are looking at all colored clearings. So we're going to go against the cats, and 2 and 3, which would be, you know, rather 3 and 1 back. So it'd kill a cat. It'd also kill a lizard, but again, because this is on the lizard's turn, that does not go into the acolyte track. You can see why this would be a problem, because if that immediately went into the acolyte's track, guess what? You have another acolyte that you could use right away. It's also, you know, in keeping with the human player one. So there we go. We get rid of that lizard, get rid of the cat. Now, if we were to make it all the way over to Sanctify, like I said, that's the scariest one, is going to be remove an enemy building in an ordered clearing and place a matching garden there. So scariest because buildings typically are harder to make than warriors. Also, buildings are harder to access. You have to kill the warriors first and then you can take them out. So this one goes right to the heart of a clearing, which is especially scary for something like the Eerie Dynasty. So you're going to, in a clearing tie, the clearing with the least enemy warriors, then priority. So in this case, even though this is a higher priority, we would focus on this clearing. So you would just remove this. So that would get you a victory point. And then you would put down a matching garden in that space. So now, I mean, the lizards would rule this clearing anyways, but even if they lost the warrior, this would still be a ruled clearing by them, that is. Player ties, same as with the Crusade and the conversion, most victory points, then setup order. Okay, so continuing in this hypothetical that we have, we move into daylight. You're going to reveal the top bracket level cards from the Lost Souls pile in order to perform rituals for each. So you have conspiracies and you have rituals. The rituals are here, and they are going to be determined by whether it's a red, orange, or yellow suit or a bird suit. If it's red, yellow, or orange, you're going to place a warrior into ordered clearing. Then if you rule that clearing, you're also going to place a matching garden in the clearing. So for clearing ties, the clearing with a free building spot is going to be, or slot is going to be highest priority, then most enemy buildings, and then priority. And for blue, for bird cards, you're going to move one of your warriors from the clearing with the most lizard warriors to the acolytes box. I mentioned before, there is a way to make acolytes on the birds, or on the lizard's turn. This is it. And this is going to move the card to the discard pile. So the bird cards will be removed. The others, when they're revealed, they will go back to the Lost Souls pile. And we'll explain that in a second. So for this one, and for our playthrough, we'll be playing on the beginner. So we're going to be revealing 3 cards. So the first one is going to be red. You're going to place a warrior in ordered clearing, or in a red clearing. And remember, clearing ties are most free building spots, or with a free building spot, then most enemy buildings, and then priority. So we have free building spots in 8, 12, and 1. None of those have enemy buildings, so this would be the priority. So you're going to place a warrior over here. We do not rule the clearing, so we don't put a guard down over there. Next one would be orange. So our, oh, right. I mean, 6 was also order clearing, but there are no building spots. I didn't say that out loud. So this is off limits because of the keep. So you have 7, 11, and 9. All have building spots. None have enemy buildings. So 7 would be the winner based on priority. We do rule there, so you would put a garden down in that space. And then, okay, so since it's orange, we still have slots available in these same spots. None of them have enemy buildings, so then 7 is still the high priority. And there's still a spot, so we would still put a garden down there. So this is like super duper lizard controlled. And that is how we do daylight. We keep these in order. So then when we get to evening, you're going to score the victory points of the rightmost empty garden space. So because we got 2 mouse clearings down, we go from that 0 column into the double wide column of 2 victory points. So we bump up there. We would discard Lost Souls. So anything else that would be in this pile gets discarded. But then these are returned in order. And I am going to keep looking. I have not found clarification. The way I see it, when you reveal these, you do them in order. So previously the order was this. It was red, orange, orange. So when I put them down, I'm going to put them down in the order that I revealed them. In other words, you're going to be flipping those cards So the top one is now your bottom card, which realistically, you're going to be putting more cards on top. So you're less likely to get to that one that was your first card last turn. Again, I could be wrong, but I cannot find anything that clarifies that this, where it says in order, if that means the in order you see up here, or if it means the in order it was played, in which case they're reversed. Very subtle, very nitpicky, but obviously big difference. So for the playthrough, for the teaching now, and the playthrough in the next video, that's how I'm going to be interpreting it. Who knows? That could be something I need to come back and say, mea culpa, I was wrong. Then you're going to place the order card on top of the Lost Souls pile. So the Logical Lizards will be adding to Lost Souls, as will I. But again, Electric Eerie will not, because they keep them all here, except when they discard their decree. They're going to just like poop all of their cards over there into the pile. So, and then that's the end of the Logical Lizard's turn. That is the Logical Lizards. They do have 4 trait cards, just like the published Clockworks. Again, just basic grayscales here. I will say that, I mean, with a halfway decent printer, the grayscale looks really good. It's very clear. Obviously, you don't have that little pop for the different colors, but it is not the end of the world. Because they've made the icons so clear and so obvious, there's no problem me seeing mouse, rabbit, and fox clearings here, which is really the only part of the player board that the colors would actually really matter. So totally fine if you don't have color ink for your printer like I don't right now. Just print it out in black and white and you'll be fine. So for next time, we're going to be Preachers. Whenever you convert, do it twice. Whoa, okay. Now remember, put this somewhere we're going to remember it. So I'm going to put it off to the side here. You can't see it. It's like just off the edge of the screen, but it's over there. And yeah, I'll be playing with that next time. So I'm going to clean up, what I did here, get it back to square one, and we will be rolling right into playthrough of Marquee, Human Marquee, Electric Eerie, and Logical Lizards. So again, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time on the garage.